Hello, I'm Dr. Roxanne Khan, Director of Honour Abuse Research Matrix at the University of Central Lancashire. In this video, I'll introduce our national guidelines, harmful traditional practices in the workplace, guidance for best practice, to help your organisation safeguard employees, colleagues, and service users. Let's get started. So, what are harmful traditional practices? Every social grouping in the world has specific traditional practices, often spanning generations, which reflect the values and beliefs held by members of a community. Some are beneficial, others are harmful. The term harmful traditional practices, or HTPs, is used to describe certain forms of abuse committed primarily against girls and women. However, they do occur across all sexes, sexual identities, and genders, and are not unique to any one culture, country, or religion. The most common are so-called honour abuse, female genital mutilation, or FGM, and forced marriage. Harmful traditional practices are a growing concern nationally. In 2018, 1,764 potential cases of forced marriage were reported to the Home Office's Forced Marriage Unit, a 47% increase from the year before. With an estimated 12 murders a year, Britain has the highest number of honour killings in Europe. Now you know a little about the scale of the problem, let's think about safeguarding. In answer to the question, whose job is it to address harmful traditional practices in the workplace? It's your job. At every level of every organisation, everyone has a responsibility to safeguard staff, colleagues, and service users. This collective responsibility means there's less chance of someone slipping through the net. The following recommendations will help organisations, large and small, to tackle this form of abuse, to create a safer, more informed and engaged workforce. We've split our recommendations into 3 parts. Let's start with environment. A diverse and inclusive workplace that empowers people to talk about issues affecting them is the cornerstone to employee engagement and well-being, and the key to safeguarding colleagues and service users. These 5 recommendations will help organisations achieve a safer, more positive environment. Cultural competency training raises staff awareness of their own cultural values and worldview and their implications for making respectful, reflective, and reasoned choices generally. Embrace diversity and inclusion. A workplace culture that nurtures and embraces diversity and inclusion creates a host of positive outcomes for employees and the organisation. For example, improved levels of physical and psychological well-being, coordinated action, and economic vitality. Include harmful traditional practices in mainstream safeguarding policy. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Organisations can simply use existing mechanisms, like they did for gender equality and LGBT issues, that were also, until recently, overlooked in the workplace. Remember to consider perpetrators as well as victims. A zero-tolerance policy works best. Responding to red flags. Victims of harmful traditional practices might have one chance to report their abuse, so their first contact with external agencies may be the only opportunity to save their life. Organisations should have measures in place to respond effectively. Telephone staff at HMRC, for example, use a red alert paddle to alert management to callers concerned about abuse. Board-level buy-in. Senior executive teams should lead on initiatives such as the use of intranet to recognise days to raise awareness of harmful traditional practices. Examples include the International Day for Zero Tolerance of FGM and the National Day of Memory for Victims of Honour Killings. Moving on to education. Harmful traditional practices affect people from all walks of life, working at all levels of every organisation. Quality training and education helps your employees to understand their rights and enable them to confidently assess risk. report issues early, and may even help save a life. We have 3 recommendations. Awareness training, face-to-face and e-learning training that is culturally competent, includes case studies, and describes the range of harmful traditional practices, should be compulsory for all employees. Poster campaigns. Not all victims know their legal rights or view their experience as abusive. Posters can inform employees of their rights under the Equality Act 2010 and should index agencies who can provide further assistance. Remember to steer away from stereotypical images of cultures or victims, as these add to the stigma. Safeguarding training, specific to harmful traditional practices, will help your organisation to achieve ethical and legal compliance and also mitigate risk. And finally, empowerment. Organisational initiatives that offer practical support for employees, empowering them to talk about sensitive issues such as harmful traditional practices, must be adopted as part of workplace policy. Our recommendations include proactive measures and well-being initiatives for employees experiencing or at risk of abuse. Examples include additional leave, flexi-time, mentorship, and external advocacy, a basic employee toolkit, and the development of strong referral pathways with support organisations. Anonymous way of communicating concerns. Fear of reprisal is often cited as a barrier to reporting issues. A confidential talking box and anonymous online surveys have been found to empower employees to talk more openly. Identify and train workplace champions, a dedicated point of contact within your organisation, empowered to offer confidential advice and respond effectively in accordance with standardised guidelines. Champions must be allocated time, resources, and private space, where employees can make phone calls or research online without fear of being overlooked or overheard. Day surgeries enable your staff, service users, and local community to access advice safely from multiple agencies, including housing, police, social services, education, charities, and support groups in one location. Engaging with professionals and your local community will help people at risk, as well as raise the profile of your organisation. Thank you for watching. Download our free guidance booklet at. Follow us on Twitter at HARM Network.